Ooh, that's nice. So good. It's just so good every time. You just can't beat it. Oop, my earbuds are still in my pocket. What's better than this? Oh, the burn. It's so good. Oh, it's like drinking radiator fluid. Hi there, everybody. So, some of you, hold on. I think that's okay. As some of you may know, it's Christmas. Quimbus is here. It's already here. It's December 24th, which is insane. It's crazy. A lot of things. That means a lot of things, actually. Christmas. New Year's is soon. End of the year is soon. And that's pretty crazy. But Christmas is always a crazy time. Also, any other holidays you celebrate at this time. New Year's is just a week after this. There's Hanukkah, there's Kwanzaa. I don't actually know if Ramadan falls during this time. I saw something that might say. I don't actually know. Regardless, it's a pretty widespread holiday season. Most people will have something to celebrate at this time, which is pretty cool. Also, very easily exploitable for consumerism. But that's for another day. So, anyways, I've got a little story for you. Some preamble. So, I wanted to do a Christmas reading for Mr. Men because they have a wide array of Christmas books, and those are actually some of the special ones I own. I don't own a huge amount of the specialty ones. There's like the main series ones, which are like Mr. Blank, Little Miss Blank, blah, blah, blah. And then there's like the specialty ones, which are still specific. Well, I don't know the exact wording, but then there's like a subset that are still specifically Mr. Men or Little Miss books, like still follow one character and explicitly have one character on the cover and like no subtitle. And but they are more specialty because either they were like a contest or they were made in a specific partnership. Um, Also, I don't know if this is official classification or just how I classify it. I've got some of them that I will eventually read. I've gotten most of all of those ones, except a couple that I have to specialty order. Maybe I'll do that as a little Christmas present to myself. Um, so yeah, like Walter the Worm is an example of that. I don't want to spoil any of the other ones, but like you can look up them. Um, and yeah, and there is a Mr. Christmas, Little Miss Christmas. Wasn't gonna read those ones right now though. And then there's a different series where it still follows an individual character, but there's like a subtitle because it's a specific plot and it's different, and then they have different covers and it's weird. Anyways, and then there's like full blown specialty ones where the title is like Mr. Men something, and it'll be like happy whatever blah 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 blah, and it's like just a general book that doesn't explicitly follow one character from the title. Um, Anyways, this was a really long tangent. So I wanted to read one of those specifically for Christmas because I had some memories around it. I think of like when I was going through a year or two ago. I don't know how long ago it was. And I was like getting all the mainline Mr. Men books, and I realized that was when I had, and I was like, this is a pretty, quirky title, and I read it a bit with Dylan. And I was like, this is funny. Little did I know that I would be doing this not for a living, but just habitually at this point. I was going to do that one. And then, when, like, literally 20 minutes ago, when I went to go look for it, I saw another one that I had forgotten that existed, and I was like, oh, I need to do that one as well, but I still want to do that one. So, you're getting two Mr. Men Christmas readings. This is probably not great for my brand because it's three readings back to back, three reading videos back to back. But also, analytics wise, these are the ones that do the best, mostly probably because Gil falls asleep to them every 12 minutes and has to rewatch it 5 times before they get through it. Shout out to you. Jolson's at the door. It was Twiggy. I was wrong. Anyways, so today we'll be reading. What? And then there's like sparkly book. It's so weird, and like there's no official classifications, so it gets so hard because everyone's just making up their own rules and their own lists. Not important. Anyways, today we're reading Mr. Men Christmas Carol. And the reason that Mr. Men A Christmas Carol stood out to me is because in my drama class I just directed a production of A Christmas Carol. It wasn't like a full blown thing. It was like a half-hour rendition. Nothing crazy. Nothing too crazy. But like, still an adaptation of A Christmas Carol. And even though I think I honestly have never seen a full adaptation of A Christmas Carol. The story is just really appealing to me. The idea of like three ghosts plus Marley taking him on a journey and a character journey, with like three very unique characters and different ways of approaching it. That was always, I don't know, there was some level of mystique around it, even if I had never had specific memories around A Christmas Carol. There was always just a fondness for the story as a whole and the devices it used. And so then in drama, when we were figuring out what production we were doing for the winter, we went with, well, I mean, I pushed really hard for A Christmas Carol. So then we did A Christmas Carol. I listened to the entire audiobook of the original. Shout out to Dr. James Gill on YouTube. What a guy. Oh, his voice, so smooth, and he reads it so beautifully. He does voices, it's really great. And I was like, this is actually really great. And our adaptation obviously cut a lot of stuff, but it still kept the bones. Adaptations always have to be different from their source material. That is just a fact when you're jumping from medium to medium. And a good adaptation isn't necessarily the most... What? Oh, sorry. Thank you. That's all right. It's a Christmas reading. Do you wish to say hi?
It's what?
A Christmas reading. I'm doing a Christmas reading of Mr. Men A Christmas Carol.
Oh. Sorry.
That's fine.
Now you got cats and treats. And
Thank you.
You'll just have to edit that part out.
I won't. That's fine. My mother. And now I have a little treat. So yeah. I haven't even started reading. It's been 7 minutes. Jocelyn's here with me now. Anyways, we did A Christmas Carol, and I was like, that's really cool. And I was the one who was really pushing for Christmas Carol. Don't put your fur in my treat. So anyways, we're going to be reading A Christmas Carol now. Woo! And I'm not going to, like, critique this too heavily of, like, you know, how accurate is it? But still, I'm just going to, like, you know, we're going to give it a fair shake. So yeah, Mr. Men Christmas Carol. Alrighty. Does Mr. Mean have any money? He has pots of it. He keeps it all hidden under his floorboards. I think we found our Scrooge. I think in other regions he is known as Mr. Stingy. I don't actually know if this is the American or the British version, because that will change his name, I believe. It's not important. I think Mr. Mean is the American and Stingy is the British. It was really good. So yeah, I think we've got our Scrooge type. Jocelyn, stop. Does Mr. Mean spend any of his money? Hardly a penny. Guess what Mr. Mean has for every meal? A can of baked beans. A can of cold, baked beans. Because he is too mean to turn the cooker on. See, that's the thing, is that he's known as Mr. Mean in, I think this is the US version, but he's known as Mr. Stingy in the British version, and stingy makes more sense in this case. So he's too stingy to turn the cooker on. It's not really mean to eat beans, because it's just yourself. If you're forcing other people to eat cold beans, now that's unfortunate, but anyways. Now, I'm sure you're wondering how Mr. Mean makes all his money. He owns a factory that makes piggy banks, and because Mr. Mean is so mean, he pays his staff hardly any money at all. They only get one day off a year, Christmas Day. Mr. Mean considers this to be far too much time off. Damn. Is this our Cratchit type? Is this Bobby Boy? This might be Cratchit. Yeah, Mr. Stingy, Mr. Mean, he's being mean. If anyone complains, then Mr. Mean points out his best worker, who has worked for him the longest, who has never complained, and always has a smile for his boss. Look at Mr. Happy, says Mr. Mean. He works for me, and he's happy. Now, I don't know if Mr. Happy is exactly the most reliable, reliable case for, a measure of joy, because he's Mr. Happy, so he's generally probably going to be happy. Not that I want to, put him in a box or anything, but, it's real good. Do you wish to sniff it, Jocelyn? You may only sniff. Hold on. I need to lick the icing off my finger. Don't mind me. Jocelyn, you are fine. Actually, I'm just gonna go wash my hands quickly. This I'll actually edit out. So, I'll be right back. I've returned. Also, sorry for so much preamble in this reading, and then Mother's interruption. But I think that's fun to keep in. How in, planted baits I keep in when Grandma calls, and then it's, point of reflection. It's a fun little game. Alrighty, let's see what's going on. Late on Christmas Eve, after everyone but Mr. Mean and Mr. Happy had gone home, the factory received a visitor. It was little Miss Sunshine. She was there to invite the two of them to a Christmas lunch the following day. Oh wait, hold on. Jocelyn wants out. Bye-bye. Christmas lunch. Spluttered, Mr. Mean. What a lot of stuff and nonsense. A lot of stuff and nonsense. Weird. Before I know it, he'll be expecting me to buy presents for everyone. Humbug. How about you, Mr. Happy? Asked little Miss Sunshine, ignoring Mr. Mean's outburst. Would you like to come? Oh, I won't be able to make it, said Mr. Happy, but thank you for asking me. Never mind, said little Miss Sunshine. Have a good day, and a happy Christmas to you both. Jocelyn just went out, and now she wants back in. No, that was Twiki again. That's crazy. Mr. Happy looks real sad in this. Pardon me. I don't mean to, Also, this is very reminiscent. I think Happy is our Cratchit type. As often is the main character of stuff, like how Kermit was Cratchit in Muppet Christmas Carol. Also, I will probably watch that today, because I haven't fully seen that. I know of it. I know Michael Caine is Scrooge and all that jazz, but I haven't actually fully watched it, which is a problem. Bah humbug, muttered Mr. Mean as he sat counting his money. It works so much better when it's Mr. Stingy. I think I'm just gonna say Mr. Stingy, because that's how I was raised, knowing him as this little blue bean angry guy. So, we're flipping the script. On his way home, Mr. Happy looked in the shop windows. I wish I could go to little Miss Sunshine's Christmas lunch, he murmured to himself, as he gazed at a bright window display full of presents. But how can I possibly go when I cannot afford to take presents for everyone? With a heavy sigh, Mr. Happy glumly trudged through the snow. I don't think that presents were a requirement for the Christmas lunch. But, pop off. Maybe I just don't know how Christmas lunches work. That evening, Mr. Stingy only had half a tin of cold baked beans because his factory is going to be closed for a whole day. It was very cold in his house, but rather than light a fire, he went to bed. Mr. Stingy counts coins rather than sheep to get himself to sleep. And while he slept, Mr. Mean... I don't know. I'm going to change them both. I'm going to use them interchangeably at my own whim. Mr. Mean dreamed a very strange and troubling dream in which he met 3 people So we're cutting Marley. That's kind of a bummer, but alas. The first person he met was Mr. Nosy, who showed Mr. Mean what his past Christmas Day had been like. Mr. Mean saw himself sitting all alone, no friends, no presents, no comfortable fire, and no Christmas lunch. And then Mr. Mean saw everyone else enjoying themselves. Don't quite know the purpose of it being Mr. Nosy in this case. Also, I'm pretty sure, at least in, I think, the original and my adaptation that we did, the past is supposed to be like he used to like Christmas, not like he's always been sad. But pop off. Is that it? Mr. Mean groaned in his sleep and turned restlessly under his thin blanket. Look at his little nightcap. And he's groaning. He do be groaning. The next person to visit Mr. Mean's dream was little Miss Wise, and she showed him what the present Christmas Day was going to be like. He saw Mr. Happy sitting alone and cold in his house, eating a can of cold baked beans, and he doesn't even like baked beans. He was too poor to heat his house, and too embarrassed to go to little Miss Sunshine's house without presents for everyone. He doesn't look very happy, does he? Observed little Miss Wise. Not so much Mr. Happy, more like Mr. Sad. Mr. Mean moaned in his sleep and clutched his flat pillow. What an astute observation, little Miss Wise. He looks sad. Maybe he should be called Mr. Sad. The third person to appear in his dream was little Miss Bossy. She showed Mr. Mean what his future Christmases had in store. A miserable-looking Mr. Happy walked through the town, and as this sad person greeted the people he met in the street, Mr. Mean noticed something. "Everyone is calling him Mr. Sad," exclaimed Mr. Mean. "That's because he is," explained little Miss Bossy. "He isn't happy anymore, so now everyone calls him Mr. Sad. And that is all your fault." Little Miss Bossy as third spirit makes a lot of sense. Interesting that they go with Mr. Happy being Mr. Sad rather than Tim and Scrooge dying in the future. But yeah, I mean, like, this has to be, like, even more tame than... Well, Christmas Carol isn't tame. I shouldn't say Christmas Carol's tame, because it's, like, it's real heavy. Christmas Carol's heavy. So for, like a G-rated adaptation, and, like, mapping it to Mr. Men, I'm content. With these words ringing in his ears, Mr. Mean woke up with a start. Sunlight was streaming into his cottage as he jumped out of bed. Oh my, he cried as he rushed out the door. In a great flurry of activity. Pardon me. Mr. Mean ran from shop to shop, pounding on doors, and making the shoekeepers open their shops for him. The shopkeepers, not the shoekeepers. He made the shopkeepers open their shops for him. Oopsies. Not the shoekeepers. This is him running. He's a runner, he's a track star. And you can see he got up early because the sun's just rising. It's a very pretty sunrise. Anyways. Mr. Happy was just getting up when he heard a loud knocking at his door. He could not believe his eyes when he opened it, nor his ears. "Happy Christmas!" cried Mr. Mean. "No time to waste. Quick, quick, we're off to little Miss Sunshine's." "But I can't go," blurted out Mr. Happy. "I don't have any presents." "All taken care of," cried Mr. Mean. And do you know what? He was right. Behind him, on the snowy path, was a sledge laden with brightly wrapped presents. He works fast. You're telling me Mr. Stingy could have been pulling these strings all along? He has this much influence, even though he was so mean and nobody likes him? Is this what you're telling me? Is this what is this what I'm supposed to believe? Anyways, not important. Little Miss Sunshine was overjoyed to see the two of them. Mr. Happy and Mr. Mean, rather to his surprise, had a wonderful day. Lots of friends, presents, a warm fire, and a huge Christmas lunch. "I couldn't ask for anything more," said Mr. Happy. "Thank you, Mr. Mean." "You might not ask for anything more, but you're going to get it," said Mr. Mean. And with this he gave Mr. Happy a present. "It's just something to remember me by." Mr. Happy opened the present. We see them all celebrating. We see Mr. Noisy, Mr. Bump, Miss Sunshine, Mr. Happy, Mr. Stingy. They all got their little paper crowns that come from the Christmas crackers. That's a lot of fun. It was a tin of baked beans. That's funny. That's funny. He got him a tin of baked beans because he only eats beans. Also, sharing an office with Mr. Mean must be nasty. That must be nasty if all he eats is beans. Something's not gonna be good. But anyways, I digress. Well, Christmas Carol. In hindsight, I probably should have read the other one today and then saved this for tomorrow, because I would have known what I've been getting into with Christmas Carol a bit more, and like this takes place on Christmas Day, while the other one might be like a pre-Christmas. But it's too late now, and I'm not going to upload them out of order because I don't want to deceive you and then like be like, I don't want to record the next one and be like, hey, so this is actually going up first, and then the next one I'm going to talk like it's the first one. That's too much. Anyways, Mr. Men: A Christmas Carol. A solid adaptation of Christmas Carol. Literally, like, the bones of Christmas Carol are so easy, maybe not easy to work with, but like they map onto things really well, and it's really hard to make it bad. Like, this isn't obviously meant to be an amazing adaptation of A Christmas Carol because it's mapping it to Mr. Men, but that's kind of the beautiful thing about A Christmas Carol, is that it is such it can be such a universal story that you can map it to these different IPs. Like, I remember Looney Tunes Christmas Carol. There's Muppet Christmas Carol, which is like arguably one of the best adaptations, so I've heard. And also, like, I've seen snippets of Muppet Christmas Carol, but I will fully watch it. There's like Christmas Carol is something that is so not easily adapted, but like it maps really well to a lot of things. And I think that's kind of one of the beautiful things about it, is that you just mean guy, mean to people, three spirits, changes his ways. And I mean, okay, now that's Jocelyn's door. And it's to varying degrees of like intensity. Like, this is one of the most tame adaptations, I would say. The one that I did for school, like the one that I directed, because we did a pre-done script, I wasn't, gonna write an adaptation. That's a lot. Was like mid-tame, like Tim is dead, and it didn't actually have Scrooge's grave. I added that because I thought that was a really important part. Also, Walter's on the front. Don't know if you guys saw that. And yeah, and I would say, like, I don't think anybody really goes farther than the original Christmas Carol, because that's real deep, unless you're like intentionally like twisting it to horror. And I mean, I've seen some, like there is the guy who makes Walton Files did Boozoo's Ghost, which is like more of a horror. It's not important. Anyways, Christmas Carol is a really great story. I love it a lot, and Mr. Men Christmas Carol is a fun time. So yeah. Thank you for joining me on this Christmas Eve, or you're probably watching this later than Christmas Eve, but anyways, there'll be another Christmas reading. You get 2 Christmas readings. Woo! Anyways, thank you so much for joining me, and I'll catch you later. Bye-bye. Oh, Merry Christmas as well. Or Happy Holidays of various other degrees. Happy New Year. But I'll be doing another one. Anyways, enjoy your holidays. Hopefully you get time to celebrate, time off, time to be with family, friends, loved ones, to just relax, do whatever, just to have some time. Anyways, Bye bye. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. All the times. Have a good. Just have a good. Bye bye.